Hey guys, Exotic Car DIY here. Today just a quick video showing you how I'm going to take the front bumper off an F430. I'm going to go and take this off. It's supposed to be a pretty easy job, and so let's go ahead and get started by taking off the wheel. Alright, so now in the wheel well you'll see that there's all these giant Phillips heads. We need to remove all them. And there's also a 10mm underneath. With that main piece removed, we can now access the two main 13mm bolts that hold on the side. Then lastly, I got to unplug this light. So now on the bottom you got probably, I don't know, 10 or 14 of these little 10mm you all got to take off. Alright, so now the last thing I'm going to do before I take this off is just so we don't scrape or bump anything, we're going to put a little bit of masking tape. Alright, so now you can see we just put a really loose layer of masking tape. There's no point in sticking it down. All that is just so when we bump anything it doesn't scrape up the paint. So now with the car back lowered, we can go ahead and open up the trunk, and there's going to be some bolts here. Alright, so the bolts are 17mm, and it's funny is they're kind of angled so you can't really get a deep socket on them. Loosen them. So what I've done is I've put the weight of the bumper onto my cart just with a blanket, and simply you just got to slide it off. Alright. So right here it appears to be the plug for the bumper. Alright, so you can see the little plug here. These are one of those safety clips you got to pry off. There we go. Alright, so we've unplugged the parking sensor cable, and then the next thing I see is the washers are still attached. Right here is our connection for the sprayers for the headlights. So we're just going to undo the clip. There we go. Now we got it capped. All right, and now we can carefully pull the bumper away from the car. There you go. Getting close to being done. So we got the bumper back from paint. There's no more scratches anywhere on this at all. The paint came out perfect. And so now I'm reinstalling some of these Premier Motorsports skid plates. They kind of fit on there nice. And the thing I like about these, other than some of the other brands, some of them they just have little pieces here or here. They cover the whole thing, which actually looks like it's intentional, I guess. So anyway, they're just held in with some little 4mm stainless hardware. And they're really easy to install. Alright, so now we got both skid plates installed. You can kind of see how they go there. There's one company that makes one for here. I really don't like this one because it's not going to get hit if these ones are here. So there's really no point. And I really like having the painted surface here. But they fit really nice and flush. Everything looks good. Time to put this bumper on. Alright, now we can just make sure that we hook up our harnesses. I think there's a couple zip ties I need to add, but obviously make sure these get plugged in and not in the way of the vents when they go back in. So now you can see why I put tape here, just to kind of protect it as you slide it in place, just because even with two people it does tend to just rub against stuff. So if you can avoid that from happening, you're going to avoid any possibility of damage. So the only thing really to be concerned about is making sure this harness goes in the right place. So one thing you're going to kind of run into is the bolts. They're made on swivels so they can move around a lot, and they're kind of tricky to line up with the holes. So I'm going to use just a set of grabbers, kind of grab them and put them into place. Alright, then we should be able to just kind of slide it back into its slot. There it goes. And for now, we're just going to put all the bolts on finger tight because we need to adjust the bumper to get our gap correct. Alright, so the way I figured to set the gap on this is I've used one of those pneumatic stools underneath here to put about 20 pounds of upward force. That closed the gap here. So what I'm going to do is, now that this is pretty even from here to here, I'm going to tighten the 17mm bolts here, and then I'll bring the sides up and tighten them to match the gap so we get a nice even body line everywhere. You don't want to push too hard because you are pushing, you know, against parts of the bumper. So like I said, there's only about 20 pounds of force there. So I did figure out, you may have saw in one of my videos that there was a little bit of water buildup here, and I thought I might have a radiator leaking. It turned out that your AC drip is right here, and it was jammed up, so it wasn't draining out the bottom. So all that AC water was just kind of seeping out underneath this plastic, causing those lines. So at least it wasn't anything bad. So this time I'm going to make sure that all 3 of these lines do come out this hole, or the 3 holes are right here. We can just zip this down. Now all the curb damage from our previous owner has been erased. It's beautiful down here. I resprayed this a little bit. Love it. And we got the drain hook back up.